The film Despicable Me brought together a remarkable ensemble of voice talent, whose performances became central to the movie's charm and enduring appeal. At the heart of the cast is Steve Carell, who voices the protagonist, Giaryu. Prior to this role, Carell was already widely known for his work in live-action comedy, particularly for his role as Michael Scott on the American version of The Office, and his film career included comedic roles in movies such as The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Anchorman. What Carell brought to Giaryu was a unique combination of menace and vulnerability. His ability to convey humor through subtle inflections, timing, and tone allowed audiences to see Giaryu as both a villain and an unexpectedly tender figure. The vocal nuances Carell employed helped transform what could have been a purely comedic or exaggerated character into one that audiences empathize with, particularly in his interactions with the three orphan girls. Carell's performance also showcases versatility, blending comedy, dramatic subtlety, and musical timing, as seen in his delivery during the film's humorous montages and occasional musical moments. This role expanded Carell's career into animation, leading to a lasting association with family-friendly films and sequels that built on Giaryu's character. Opposite Carell, Kristen Wiig voiced Miss Hattie, while Jason Segel contributed as Dr. Nefario, though he later took a more prominent role in subsequent films. Carell's real-life comedic contemporaries and voice actors with extensive animation experience, including Russell Brand, who voices a flamboyant and eccentric character of Dr. Nefarious in future installments, helped shape the film's dynamic vocal energy. The young actors who voiced the three orphan girls, including Dana Gare, Elsie Fisher, and Neve Campbell's influence through vocal inspiration, brought a sense of authenticity to the children's performances. Their voices captured the innocence, curiosity, and resilience of children, anchoring the film's emotional core. These actors, some of whom were newcomers to voice acting, displayed remarkable ability to convey emotion without physical gestures, a skill essential to successful animated storytelling. The chemistry among the cast, developed through both individual recording sessions and group interactions in the studio, created a rhythm and rapport that translated seamlessly onto the screen. Behind the voices, the film's creative team played an equally critical role. Directors Pierre Coffin and Chris Renaud guided the visual storytelling and character performances. Coffin, who also provided the voices of Minions, brought a background in animation and short film production that informed a sense of comedic timing and exaggerated physicality, while Renaud contributed a strong understanding of pacing and visual composition. Their collaboration was crucial in balancing the film's slapstick humor with emotionally resonant moments, ensuring that the narrative appealed to both children and adults. The directors encouraged improvisation and subtle vocal experimentation, allowing actors like Carell to explore different approaches to lines, resulting in organic and memorable performances. This openness to experimentation became a hallmark of the film's production philosophy, fostering a creative environment where voice actors, animators, and storyboard artists could iterate together. The screenplay, crafted by 5 credited writers, included a team of seasoned comedy and animation specialists who structured the story around Giaryu's personal growth while interweaving visual gags and comedic sequences. The writing team emphasized character-driven humor and emotional depth, balancing laugh-out-loud moments with scenes of genuine tenderness. Their work ensured that dialogue complemented the physical animation, providing clear cues for animators to exaggerate gestures, expressions, and comedic timing. The collaborative process involved table readings, revisions based on voice performances, and ongoing feedback loops with the directors to maintain consistency in character, voice, and personality. Animation supervisors and lead animators contributed to defining each character's movement, expression, and idiosyncrasies. Their work involved designing the distinctive shapes, proportions, and motions of the characters to support the story and vocal performances. The animators experimented with squash and stretch, timing of gestures, and subtleties of facial expression to ensure that the animation reflected the characters' inner lives. For instance, Giaryu's exaggerated long limbs and slouched posture visually mirrored his initial cold, villainous personality, while careful attention to eye movement and subtle smiles conveyed his evolving warmth. The animators collaborated closely with voice actors to match expressions with the recorded lines, creating a synergy between sound and motion that amplified humor and emotion simultaneously. Music and sound design also played a defining role in shaping the characters and the world they inhabit. Composer Heitor Pereira crafted a playful, expressive score that highlighted both comedic sequences and tender moments, often accentuating character quirks and narrative beats. The sound design team worked meticulously to integrate unique effects, from Minions' gibberish to mechanical noises associated with GRU's inventions, making the world feel alive and immersive. These audio elements not only supported the actors' performances, but also enriched the storytelling, emphasizing comedic timing, tension, and emotional resonance. Producers Chris Meledandri and Janet Healy oversaw the project, guiding the overall creative vision, while managing logistics, budgets, and deadlines. Meledandri's experience with animated features provided a strategic perspective on audience appeal, marketing potential, and the importance of universal humor, while Healy ensured the production maintained quality and cohesion. Their leadership created a structured yet flexible environment that encouraged innovation, allowing directors, writers, and animators to explore bold visual and narrative ideas while maintaining a coherent story that resonated with audiences worldwide. Despicable Me had a profound cultural impact upon its release, resonating with audiences across age groups and around the world. Its influence extended far beyond the cinematic experience, shaping children's media, family entertainment, and even broader conversations about humor, identity, and the dynamics of modern family life. The film arrived at a time when animated features were increasingly blending comedy with emotional depth, and it carved out a distinctive niche through its unique mix of villain-centered storytelling, heartwarming themes, and visually inventive humor. Audiences were immediately drawn to the juxtaposition of GRU's initially sinister persona with his gradually revealed tenderness and vulnerability, offering a fresh take on the archetypal villain narrative. This approach shifted expectations in family entertainment, proving that animated movies could explore complex emotional arcs while remaining broadly accessible and humorous. One of the most visible cultural phenomena spawned by Despicable Me was the rise of the Minions as iconic pop culture figures. These small, yellow, pill-shaped characters, with their playful gibberish, physical comedy, and expressive faces, captured the imagination of audiences of all ages. Their universal appeal was amplified by their minimal verbal communication, allowing global audiences to understand and enjoy their antics regardless of language or cultural context. The Minions quickly became symbols of playful mischief and joy, appearing in viral internet memes, social media trends, and user-generated content. Their popularity led to an extensive wave of merchandise, including toys, clothing, school supplies, and collectibles, with the Minions often taking center stage as the most recognizable and marketable aspect of the franchise. This merchandising success underscored the way in which animated characters can transcend the screen to become cultural icons, influencing fashion, design, and the aesthetic of children's products. Beyond merchandise, the film influenced the music and digital culture of the period. The soundtrack, featuring catchy original songs and well-chosen pop tracks, became a cultural touchstone. Songs associated with the film, particularly those performed by the Minions or during key comedic sequences, were widely shared on video platforms, becoming viral hits in their own right. Children and adults alike recreated these musical moments, whether through online videos, school performances, or informal home renditions, reinforcing the film's reach into everyday life. The popularity of these songs also had an impact on marketing strategy for animated films, demonstrating how music could be leveraged to extend a film's cultural footprint beyond theaters and into homes, classrooms, and social media spaces. Despicable Me also contributed to conversations about family dynamics and modern values in subtle but meaningful ways. At the heart of the story is the transformation of GRU from a self-interested villain into a devoted caretaker of three young girls. This narrative challenged traditional portrayals of family, showing that love, commitment, and nurturing can emerge from unexpected places. The film normalized diverse family structures and emphasized the importance of emotional bonds over conventional definitions of parenthood. Audiences recognized and embraced this representation, particularly parents and children who related to themes of adoption, blended families, or the notion that personal growth and responsibility can redefine identity. In doing so, Despicable Me encouraged media creators to explore family and social dynamics in more nuanced ways, influencing subsequent animated films and children's television programming to include emotionally complex characters and non-traditional family units. The film's humor, which blended slapstick visual gags and clever wordplay, had a cross-generational appeal that solidified its influence on family entertainment. Children were captivated by the vibrant colors, whimsical designs, and playful antics of the characters, while adults appreciated the clever jokes, cultural references, and ironic twists embedded in dialogue and action sequences. This dual-layered comedic approach became a model for later animated films seeking to engage both young audiences and adults simultaneously, contributing to a shift in the industry toward multi-generational storytelling that rewards repeated viewings and deeper engagement. The success of Despicable Me demonstrated the commercial and artistic viability of animation that respects the intelligence of both children and adults, shaping the expectations of families seeking cinematic experiences that could be enjoyed together. Globally, Despicable Me resonated with audiences due to its universal themes and visual storytelling. The film was designed in a way that humor, emotion, and visual gags could be understood across cultural and linguistic barriers, making it accessible to international markets. Its success in countries across Europe, Asia, and Latin America reflected the potential of animated films to achieve global impact without relying solely on localized dialogue or cultural references. This international reach also influenced the way studios approach localization and dubbing, emphasizing the importance of voice acting, music, and visual humor in creating universally appealing content. The film's global resonance contributed to the development of an increasingly interconnected animation industry, where characters, themes, and visual styles could transcend borders and generate shared cultural experiences worldwide. The film's cultural footprint extended into physical spaces, influencing theme park experiences and public interactions. Characters from the film, especially the Minions, were incorporated into rides, interactive exhibits, and live shows, providing immersive experiences that reinforce the film's narrative and aesthetic. These adaptations allowed fans to engage with the characters and story in tangible ways, deepening emotional connections and making the film part of everyday life beyond screens. The success of these adaptations demonstrated the potential of animated films to create multi-platform cultural experiences, where storytelling, merchandise, and themed entertainment intersect to reinforce audience engagement and brand longevity. Despicable Me also shaped digital and social trends. The playful personalities of the characters, particularly the Minions, lent themselves to GIFs, emojis, memes, and short-form videos, helping to define a segment of internet humor for years following the film's release. This digital presence amplified the film's visibility and influence, creating a feedback loop where online engagement promoted the movie, while the movie reinforced cultural symbols familiar to internet users. The film's integration into these spaces highlighted how modern animated films could participate in broader media ecosystems, influencing communication styles, humor, and digital creativity across generations. The animation of Despicable Me represents a remarkable achievement in both technical innovation and collaborative artistry, and the behind-the-scenes process reveals the complexity, creativity, and dedication involved in bringing this vibrant world to life. The film's production began with extensive storyboarding, concept art, and character design, processes that allowed the creative team to explore visual storytelling, comedic timing, and narrative flow before the animation itself began. Early sketches established the distinctive silhouettes of the characters, emphasizing exaggerated proportions that would become a hallmark of the film. GRU's elongated limbs, sharp angles, and slouched posture visually reinforced his initial villainous persona, while the rounded shapes and soft features of the three orphan girls conveyed innocence and warmth. Animators spent significant time refining these designs to ensure they were both expressive and workable within the constraints of computer animation, allowing for a full range of motion and subtle emotional nuance. Voice recording played a critical role in shaping the animation, with actors often recording their lines prior to final animation. This allowed animators to synchronize gestures, expressions, and mouth movements with the vocal performances, ensuring that the timing of humor and emotional beats matched the actor's delivery. Steve Carell, for instance, often experimented with different inflections and comedic timing during recording sessions, which inspired animators to adjust the physicality of GRU's movements, enhancing the interplay between voice and body language. Scenes involving the Minions require particularly inventive approaches, as their gibberish language needed to convey meaning and humor through tone, rhythm, and timing rather than actual words. The sound design and voice recording teams collaborated closely to develop their unique vocalizations, integrating them seamlessly with animated action to create a believable and hilarious communication style. Technological innovation was a defining aspect of the production. The animation team utilized advanced rendering software and simulation tools to create fluid character movement, realistic textures, and dynamic lighting effects. Lighting, in particular, was carefully designed to convey mood and focus audience attention, with stark contrasts emphasizing dramatic moments and softer, warmer tones enhancing scenes of tenderness and humor. Environmental design, from GRU's laboratory filled with inventive gadgets to the cozy interior of the orphanage, involved meticulous attention to detail, ensuring that every prop and background element contributed to storytelling. The collaboration between layout artists, animators, and lighting specialists allowed scenes to feel immersive, guiding the viewer's eye and reinforcing narrative and emotional beats without overt exposition. Story rewrites and adjustments were common during production, often inspired by test screenings, actor improvisations, or evolving artistic vision. One notable example involved a sequence in which Jiryu interacts with the girls while attempting to execute his villainous schemes. Initially, the script depicted these moments as purely comedic, but early recordings by the young voice actors revealed opportunities for subtle emotional layering. Directors Pierre Coffin and Chris Renaud encouraged the team to incorporate these nuances, leading to adjustments in timing, gestures, and even dialogue to heighten emotional resonance. These iterative rewrites exemplify the fluid nature of animation production, where storytelling is continually refined to the interplay of script, performance, and visual interpretation. Musical sequences require close collaboration between animators, storyboard artists, and composers. Songs in the film were often storyboarded as visual sequences first, with rhythm, movement, and comedic beats integrated into the storyboard before final animation. This approach allowed animators to time character movements precisely with musical cues, ensuring that dance, gestures, and facial expressions were in harmony with the score. For example, sequences involving the minions singing or performing playful antics were storyboarded to match the tempo and emotional tone of the accompanying music, creating a seamless connection between sound and image. These musical integration techniques enhanced storytelling, turning songs into narrative devices that conveyed character emotion and advanced plot development. Deleted concepts and alternative ideas also shaped the final film, reflecting the willingness of the creative team to experiment and refine. Early drafts included additional gadgets, villainous schemes, and comedic set pieces that were ultimately removed or simplified to maintain narrative focus and pacing. Some deleted ideas influenced later installments of the franchise, demonstrating how iterative creative exploration can yield ideas for future storytelling. The team's openness to experimentation, from animation tests to improvisational voice recordings, created an environment where innovation could thrive, resulting in a film that balanced technical sophistication with imaginative storytelling. Challenges during development were numerous, including coordinating a large team of artists across multiple departments, maintaining consistent visual style, and achieving the desired emotional resonance. Animators had to address technical limitations of rendering complex textures, simulating cloth and hair movement, and creating realistic interactions between characters and props. Problem-solving often required creative thinking, such as using simplified geometric shapes to maintain performance efficiency while preserving expressive potential. The collaboration between technical directors, animators, and lighting specialists ensured that solutions enhance rather than compromise the artistic vision. Despicable Me unfolds with a narrative that balances comedy, heart, and carefully structured plot development, appealing simultaneously to children and adults. The film begins by establishing GRU as a self-centered, villainous figure with grandiose ambitions. From the opening sequences, viewers are introduced to his elaborate inventions, criminal schemes, and ostentatious personality, which is visually reinforced through exaggerated animation and his interactions with his loyal, mischievous minions. This setup creates immediate comedic tension, as GRU's villainy is portrayed with humor and exaggeration, allowing audiences to laugh at his schemes while understanding that beneath the surface, there is a potential for transformation. The early scenes also establish the film's pacing, with a combination of rapid-fire gags, slapstick sequences, and detailed visual storytelling that draws viewers into GRU's world and sets up the narrative stakes. The inciting incident occurs when GRU devises a plan to steal the moon, establishing both his ambition and his perceived detachment from empathy or morality. This plot point drives the main narrative while serving as a catalyst for character development. It is at this stage that the story introduces the three orphan girls, whose presence complicates GRU's plans and begins to reveal the potential for emotional growth. The initial interactions between GRU and the girls are fraught with comedic misunderstandings and exaggerated villain versus child tension, but the writing carefully seeds moments of warmth and subtle emotional resonance. These interactions are central to the film's appeal, as they balance humorous beats with the beginnings of character transformation, providing a narrative structure that evolves from comedy to heartfelt connection. The plot unfolds through a series of rising actions, each designed to test both GRU's villainous persona and his emerging capacity for care. Sequences involving his inventions, minion antics, and interactions with rival villains provide comedic relief and visual spectacle, while also serving to highlight GRU's internal conflict. The screenplay carefully structures these moments to maintain rhythm and audience engagement, alternating between high-energy comedic sequences and quieter, emotionally driven scenes that explore the growing bond between GRU and the children. This interplay of pacing ensures that the narrative remains dynamic, appealing to both younger viewers drawn to action and humor, and adults who appreciate character complexity and emotional nuance. The story's major turning point occurs when the orphan girls, initially tools in GRU's scheme to gain access to the villainous world, begin to influence him in unexpected ways. This transformation is portrayed gradually through both verbal interactions and visual cues, such as changes in posture, facial expressions, and the manner in which he interacts with his environment. The narrative uses these cues to signal to the audience that GRU's priorities are shifting, providing a seamless blend of visual storytelling and plot development. These turning points are punctuated by comedic interludes, ensuring that the tone remains accessible to children while deepening the narrative for adult viewers who recognize the subtle emotional progression. The emotional climax of the film is structured around GRU's realization of his attachment to the children and his willingness to sacrifice his grandiose villainous plans for their well-being. This moment is carefully framed both visually and narratively, using animation to emphasize emotional expression through body language, facial detail, and environmental cues, while dialogue reinforces the themes of love, family, and personal growth. The musical score heightens this emotional resonance, underscoring the internal conflict and resolution in a manner that is accessible yet deeply affecting. The climax succeeds in merging humor and heartfelt emotion, providing a satisfying resolution that fulfills narrative expectations while maintaining the film's unique comedic identity. Comedic beats are carefully interwoven throughout the narrative to maintain engagement and reinforce character traits. The minions, in particular, serve as agents of physical comedy and visual gags, their actions often acting as both comic relief and narrative propulsion. Their antics are strategically placed to punctuate scenes, provide timing for emotional reflection, and create rhythm within the plot. This layered approach to humor ensures that laughter serves not only as entertainment, but also as a tool for pacing, keeping the audience invested in both the plot and character development. Musical numbers are seamlessly integrated into the narrative structure, functioning as both character development tools and thematic enhancers. Songs occur at moments that highlight changes in emotion, establish relationships, or emphasize comedic tension. For example, sequences in which the girls engage with GRU through playful music or dance underscore the deepening bond between them, conveying development that might otherwise require lengthy exposition. These musical elements are carefully choreographed with animation and plot, ensuring that the songs contribute meaningfully to narrative progression rather than serving merely as interludes. This integration demonstrates the film's sophisticated approach to blending multiple storytelling modalities within a cohesive narrative framework. Subplots, such as interactions with rival villains and the detailed depiction of GRU's inventions, enrich the central narrative, creating layers of interest that engage different audience demographics. Adults may appreciate the cleverness of the villain rivalry or the inventive humor of the gadgets, while children enjoy the visual spectacle and slapstick comedy. These subplots are carefully structured to intersect with the main storyline, ensuring that all elements contribute to the thematic arc of transformation and emotional growth. The balance between main plot and subplots reflects meticulous planning, allowing the narrative to maintain coherence, while offering a diverse range of entertainment experiences. The resolution of the film brings closure not only to the central heist plot, but also to GRU's personal journey. The successful integration of the children into his life, coupled with the thwarting of external threats, provides a satisfying narrative payoff. This conclusion reinforces the story's themes, emphasizing the value of love, family, and moral growth over material or selfish pursuits. The final sequences tie together comedic motifs, emotional beats, and visual symbolism, creating a holistic and emotionally satisfying ending that appeals to audiences of all ages. Despicable Me is rich with themes and moral messages that resonate across age groups, blending comedy with meaningful lessons about identity, personal growth, love, and family. At its core, the film explores a journey of self-discovery, showing that people are not confined by their past behavior or perceived roles. GRU, introduced as a seemingly irredeemable villain, gradually reveals a capacity for love, empathy, and responsibility through his interactions with the three orphan girls. This transformation demonstrates that change is possible when individuals open themselves to connection, responsibility, and vulnerability, providing an accessible and uplifting lesson for children while offering adults a nuanced portrayal of personal growth. The narrative emphasizes that identity is not static and that one's choices, rather than past labels, define character and morality. One of the most prominent themes is the importance of family and emotional bonds. The film challenges traditional notions of family by showing that love and care can emerge from unconventional situations. The three orphan girls, initially used as tools in GRU's schemes, gradually become central to his sense of purpose, demonstrating how relationships can foster growth and reshape priorities. This portrayal encourages audiences to appreciate diverse family structures and underscores a message that emotional connection and nurturing can be just as powerful as traditional familial arrangements. By showing GRU's evolution into a caring figure, the film teaches that genuine affection and commitment can transform individuals and create a supportive, loving environment, regardless of initial intentions. Friendship and loyalty also play significant roles in the narrative. GRU's relationship with his minions, despite their comedic misadventures and frequent chaos, highlights themes of collaboration, loyalty, and the importance of community. The minions' unwavering support, willingness to follow him through both comical and dangerous situations, and capacity for empathy provide a parallel to the emotional bonds he develops with the children. This duality reinforces the idea that meaningful relationships, whether through friendship or family, are central to human experience and personal fulfillment. For younger audiences, these interactions offer lessons about kindness, cooperation, and valuing those who support and care for us. Another major theme is courage, both in terms of confronting external challenges and in embracing personal vulnerability. GRU must navigate his villainous ambitions, unexpected responsibilities, and eventual emotional awakening, demonstrating that courage is multifaceted. It involves not only facing obstacles, but also making ethical choices, protecting loved ones, and taking emotional risks. The children, despite their small size and youth, exhibit bravery in their interactions with GRU, highlighting that courage comes in many forms, and that even seemingly powerless individuals can influence outcomes and inspire change. This theme reinforces moral lessons about the value of integrity, empathy, and standing up for others, making the narrative more than just a comedy or adventure story. Personal growth and self-acceptance are interwoven throughout the film. GRU's journey from selfish villain to loving parental figure illustrates that growth requires introspection, willingness to change, and receptiveness to influence from others. The narrative emphasizes that acknowledging one's flaws and striving to improve is a courageous act and a crucial aspect of identity formation. Children observing these lessons can understand the importance of learning from mistakes and cultivating positive traits, while adults can appreciate the subtler emotional layers that depict internal struggle and transformation. The balance of humor with serious emotional beats ensures that these lessons are conveyed in a way that is engaging and accessible to all viewers. Love and compassion are central to the moral structured film. GRU's eventual prioritization of the children's well-being over his own ambitions demonstrates that genuine care for others can be transformative. The story suggests that love is not merely a feeling, but a motivator for ethical behavior and personal development. The film portrays this through visual cues, dialogue, and narrative progression, allowing audiences to experience the emotional shift alongside the characters. By integrating these lessons into the plot rather than presenting them didactically, the film ensures that viewers internalize moral messages naturally while remaining entertained. Sacrifice is another theme that resonates throughout the story. GRU's willingness to abandon his moon-stealing plan and personal ambitions for the sake of the children illustrates that moral growth often involves putting the needs of others before one's own desires. This act of sacrifice is framed in a way that emphasizes emotional reward rather than punishment, reinforcing positive lessons about empathy, responsibility, and the value of prioritizing relationships over material gain. The children, too, exhibit small acts of courage and generosity that reinforce the reciprocal nature of care and love, highlighting that meaningful relationships require contribution and mutual respect. The balance between fantasy adventure and moral lesson is particularly noteworthy. While the narrative includes fantastical inventions, whimsical heists, and over-the-top comedic sequences, these elements are always linked to character development and ethical decision-making. The exaggeration inherent in the villainous schemes and minion antics allows younger audiences to enjoy spectacle and humor, while the underlying emotional and moral messages provide depth and resonance. This dual-layered approach ensures that the film entertains without sacrificing substance, making a model for animated storytelling that combines fun with ethical reflection. Freedom and personal agency are subtly explored through the choices characters make. GRU initially operates within the constraints of his villainous persona, yet the narrative demonstrates that he can redefine himself through intentional action and emotional openness. The story reinforces the idea that individuals are not bound by societal expectations, labels, or previous behaviors, encouraging viewers to recognize their own capacity for change and moral decision-making. The children also exercise agency and influence in the protagonist, demonstrating that even seemingly minor actors in a narrative can have profound impact, a lesson in empowerment and responsibility. Humor is employed strategically to enhance the delivery of these moral messages. Comedic sequences allow audiences to engage with ethical lessons in an entertaining context, ensuring that the film's guidance feels organic rather than instructive. For instance, the minions' antics, GRU's exaggerated villainous gestures, and physical comedy all reinforce story beats, making ethical lessons memorable and emotionally resonant without slowing the pace or reducing engagement. This interplay of humor and morality exemplifies how animated films can teach values while maintaining universal entertainment appeal. Identity and the tension between public persona and private self are central to the narrative. GRU's initial presentation as a cold, calculating villain masks his capacity for love, empathy, and nurturing. Despicable Me is widely recognized for its distinctive animation style and sophisticated visual storytelling, which contributes significantly to the film's identity and appeal. The animation combines exaggerated character design, expressive facial animation, and inventive environmental details to create a world that is both fantastical and emotionally resonant. Character proportions are deliberately stylized to convey personality traits, mood, and narrative function. For example, GRU's long limbs, narrow torso, and sharp angles emphasize his initially villainous, almost caricatured nature, while simultaneously allowing flexibility in physical comedy. In contrast, the three orphan girls are designed with rounded features, large eyes, and softer proportions, instantly signaling innocence, vulnerability, and emotional openness. The juxtaposition of these designs enhances storytelling, providing immediate visual cues about character roles, relationships, and personality, without relying solely on dialogue. Visual storytelling is further strengthened through expressive movement and gesture. Animators use subtle shifts in posture, timing, and body language to communicate internal emotion, motivation, and character development. GRU's gradual softening, for example, is mirrored in his stance, gait, and facial expressions, showing transformation without requiring overt exposition. Similarly, the minions' movements, though highly exaggerated and comedic, are carefully choreographed to convey distinct personality traits and emotional states. Their slapstick antics are visually synchronized with facial microexpressions, eye movements, and timing, demonstrating how physical comedy can serve both narrative and emotional purposes. This approach to visual performance highlights the film's understanding of animation as a medium capable of expressing complex character development through motion alone. The color palette and lighting design are central to the film's mood and narrative structure. Scenes featuring GRU's villainous activities or laboratory sequences often utilize darker tones, high contrast, and cool hues to reinforce his initially cold and calculating personality. In contrast, domestic and emotionally tender moments employ warmer tones, softer lighting, and bright colors, visually signaling shifts in mood and relational dynamics. These design choices subtly guide audience perception, enhancing both comedy and emotional engagement. Lighting is also used strategically to direct focus within complex scenes, highlight reactions, and punctuate moments of narrative importance. For instance, spotlighting the girl's expressions during key emotional beats amplifies their impact, making the audience more attuned to subtle shifts in character development. Environmental design is carefully integrated with character animation to support storytelling. GRU's laboratory, with its complex machinery, oversized gadgets, and whimsical mechanical devices, visually represents his obsession with invention and control, creating a dynamic backdrop for action sequences. By contrast, the orphanage and domestic spaces feature more grounded design, incorporating cozy textures, rounded shapes, and warm color schemes that reflect safety, comfort, and emotional intimacy. These contrasting environments not only establish thematic context, but also allow animators to create visual humor and narrative tension by juxtaposing the exaggerated, chaotic villain spaces with the simpler, more humanized domestic spaces. The use of visual symbolism reinforces themes and character arcs. Specific motifs, such as a recurring use of exaggerated shadows and sharp lines around GRU during his villainous plotting, underscore his initial separation from warmth and empathy. As the story progresses, these visual elements soften, and environmental interactions, such as play with the girls or handling personal object with care, visually communicate his emotional development. Animators employed techniques like anticipation, squash, and stretch, and follow through to enhance expressive clarity, ensuring that characters' physical actions were always consistent with emotional state. These principles, drawn from classical animation theory, were adapted and enhanced for computer animation, creating a blend of traditional storytelling sensibilities with modern technical capabilities. Technological innovation was essential to realizing this visual style. The production team employed advanced 3D modeling, rigging, and simulation tools to allow for highly flexible character motion while maintaining exaggerated design aesthetics. Complex simulations for fabric, hair, and mechanical devices required close coordination between effects artists, animators, and lighting specialists to maintain both realism and comedic exaggeration. For example, GRU's coat, the girl's clothing, and the minions' rubbery forms all respond to movement in ways that enhance believability while supporting the stylized visual tone. These innovations allowed animators to push the limits of exaggeration without breaking the visual coherence of the film. Camera work within animation plays a crucial role in storytelling. The directors and layout artists employ dynamic angles, rapid cuts, and imaginative perspectives to heighten comedic effect, underscore tension, and guide viewer attention. Action sequences are often framed with dramatic perspectives, while quieter emotional scenes utilize close-ups and soft focus to draw attention to facial expressions or subtle gestures. The cinematic approach to animation gives a film a sense of depth and motion akin to live-action filmmaking, allowing audiences to engage more fully with character psychology and narrative beats. Facial animation, in particular, is a cornerstone of the film's visual storytelling. GRU's expressions are meticulously crafted to capture subtle emotional shifts, from moment of scheming triumph to tentative warmth and vulnerability. The orphan girls' faces reflect curiosity, playfulness, and affection, making their interactions with GRU and the minions more poignant and relatable. Animators achieve this level of nuance through sophisticated rigging systems that allow detailed control over eyebrows, eyes, mouths, and other micro-expressions, enabling conveyance of complex emotional information that complements dialogue and narrative pacing. The film also demonstrates mastery of visual pacing through the choreography of action and comedy. Comedic timing is enhanced by careful spacing of character movements, use of exaggeration, and interplay between foreground and background action. Minion sequences, laboratory mishaps, and chase scenes all utilize visual rhythm to create tension, surprise, and laughter. These sequences are crafted to maintain energy without overwhelming the audience, balancing rapid comedic beats with moments of narrative or emotional clarity. This approach exemplifies the film's understanding of animation as a tool for orchestrating timing, mood, and engagement, allowing viewers to experience humor and story simultaneously. Music and sound design play a central role in Despicable Me, enhancing storytelling, character development, and emotional resonance in ways that elevate the film beyond visual spectacle alone. The score, composed by Heitor Pereira, blends playful orchestration with whimsical motifs, creating a sonic identity that reflects both the comedic and tender aspects of the narrative. Pereira's compositions are highly adaptive, moving seamlessly between fast-paced, mischievous sequences and quiet, introspective moments, ensuring that music reinforces the rhythm and emotional tone of the story. For instance, sequences in GRU's laboratory, filled with inventions and gadgetry, are accompanied by energetic, syncopated motifs that emphasize the chaos and humor of the scene, while scenes of the orphan girls often feature softer, melodic passages that convey warmth and emotional intimacy. The integration of musical numbers is particularly notable, as songs in Despicable Me function not just as entertainment, but as narrative devices that deepen character understanding. Moments when the minions sing or engage in playful musical antics are carefully choreographed to align with visual comedy and character expression. The music conveys their personalities, intentions, and emotional states without relying on coherent language, demonstrating the power of rhythm, melody, and tone to communicate meaning. These sequences became especially popular with audiences, contributing to the film's cultural resonance and establishing the Minions' signature sound as a memorable element of the franchise. Their musical performances often punctuate comedic sequences, heightening humor while simultaneously advancing plot or reinforcing relationships. Sound design extends beyond music, encompassing all audio elements that define the film's world. Effects such as the whirring of GRU's machines, the slamming of doors, the squeaks and shouts of the minions, and environmental sounds like rain, wind, and urban ambience create a tactile, immersive atmosphere. These audio cues are carefully timed to complement the animation, enhancing comedic timing, emphasizing motion, and providing clarity in complex visual sequences. For example, the exaggerated mechanical noises of GRU's inventions not only support visual comedy, but also reinforces character traits, highlighting ingenuity, obsession, and occasional bumbling tendencies. Subtle sound cues, like the rustle of clothing or footsteps, add realism and reinforce character presence, ensuring that the animated world feels tangible despite its stylized design. The lyrics and musical compositions are designed to reflect thematic content and character growth. While some songs are purely comedic, others carry emotional weight, underlining themes of family, love, and personal transformation. For example, musical sequences involving the girls often highlight innocence, curiosity, and affection, while the melodies support the narrative shift from GRU as a detached villain to a caring parental figure. This dual purpose, entertainment and thematic reinforcement, demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of how music can enhance storytelling. The song structures, harmonic choices, and instrumentation are carefully selected to evoke specific emotional responses, whether laughter, suspense, or tenderness, making music an integral narrative tool rather than a supplemental element. The collaboration between animators, composers, and voice actors was critical in achieving this musical integration. Songs and background scores were often storyboarded before animation to ensure that timing, choreography, and rhythm align with character actions. Voice actors were encouraged to experiment with timing, inflection, and musicality, allowing their performances to influence the animation and overall scene pacing. This iterative approach ensured a seamless connection between audio and visual storytelling, where music and sound design were not added post-production, but developed hand in hand with narrative and performance. The result is a cohesive audio-visual experience in which every note, beat, and sound effect contributes to the story, humor, or emotional impact. Musical motifs recur throughout the film to create cohesion and character recognition. Specific themes are associated with particular characters, such as GRU's villainous schemes or the playful antics of the minions. These leitmotifs reinforce character identity and emotional trajectory, allowing audiences to subconsciously track development and mood. The repetition of motifs also provides continuity, guiding viewers through the narrative while enhancing engagement. This technique demonstrates a high level of musical storytelling sophistication, showing how sound can parallel and reinforce visual and narrative elements. Humor in musical sequences is enhanced by timing, contrast, and juxtaposition. For example, scenes in which minions sing or react musically often coincide with visual gags, using rhythm and musical punctuation to amplify comedic effect. The interplay of diegetic sound, music, and animated action allows the audience to perceive comedic intention clearly, ensuring that both children and adults can appreciate the humor on multiple levels. The combination of physical comedy, vocal expression, and musical timing exemplifies how animation and sound design collaborate to create rich, layered humor. The soundscape also contributes to world building, grounding the fantastical elements of Jiryu's lair and inventions in believable audio textures. Mechanical hums, clanks, and exaggerated gadget noises give weight and consistency to the imaginative environment. The contrast between these exaggerated sounds and the quieter, softer sounds associated with the girl's domestic world reinforces thematic contrasts, highlighting the tension between villainy and warmth, chaos and stability. These audio decisions are subtle yet crucial, enhancing narrative comprehension while enriching the audience's sensory experience. Despicable Me also demonstrates innovation in integrating vocal performance with sound design. The Minions' gibberish, for example, is treated as a musical and percussive element rather than traditional dialogue. Pitch, rhythm, and timbre are carefully manipulated to convey meaning, emotional tone, and comedic timing. This technique allows the minions to communicate effectively across linguistic boundaries, making them universally entertaining. The creativity involved in designing these vocalizations reflects the film's broader emphasis on sound as an expressive storytelling tool, capable of conveying character, emotion, and humor simultaneously. The emotional resonance of the score is particularly effective in supporting character arcs. When Jiryu begins to develop affection for the girls, the music transitions from playful mischief to warm, melodic lines that highlight tenderness and vulnerability. Similarly, tense or chaotic sequences are accompanied by dynamic, rhythmically complex motifs that heighten suspense and accentuate comic exaggeration. This careful orchestration ensures that viewers are guided emotionally through the story, aligning audio experience with narrative intent. The music not only complements visual storytelling, but often enhances the impact of critical scenes, making emotional shifts more immediate and memorable. Despicable Me was met with widespread acclaim from audiences and critics alike, marking a significant achievement in contemporary animation while also sparking debates around storytelling choices and representation. Upon release, the film quickly established itself as a commercial success, drawing impressive box office numbers both domestically and internationally. Its blend of humor, heart, and inventive visuals resonated with family audiences, leading to extended theatrical runs and robust home media sales. Children were captivated by the playful antics of the minions, the visual spectacle of Jiryu's inventions, and emotional warmth of the orphan girls, while adults appreciated the clever comedic timing, cultural references, and nuanced portrayal of villain undergoing personal growth. The dual-layered appeal of the film contributed to its broad popularity and enduring relevance, demonstrating the potential of animated features to engage viewers across multiple demographics simultaneously. Critics praised the film for its originality, voice performances, and inventive animation. Steve Carell's portrayal of Jiryu, in particular, received widespread recognition for blending comedic exaggeration with subtle emotional depth, making the character both humorous and relatable. Reviewers highlighted how Carell's vocal performance, combined with the expressive animation, allowed audiences to empathize with a character who might otherwise have been dismissed as a stereotypical villain. The supporting cast, including the voices of the three orphan girls, was also lauded for bringing authenticity and charm to their roles, further reinforcing the film's emotional core. Critics noted that these performances, coupled with the director's and animators' attention to timing, expression, and visual storytelling, created a cinematic experience that was both entertaining and emotionally satisfying. The film's humor was widely recognized as a strong point, with reviewers praising the balance between slapstick, visual gags, and witty dialogue. The Minions' antics were consistently highlighted as a source of universal appeal, transcending language barriers and providing comedic relief that complemented the narrative rather than distracting from it. Critics also emphasized how humor was used strategically to support character development and plot progression, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of timing and audience engagement. The layering of jokes to cater both children and adults became a hallmark of the film's style, with some reviewers noting that repeated viewings revealed additional comedic nuances and references that might initially go unnoticed, enhancing the film's long-term appeal. Some criticism centered on narrative choices and thematic elements. A small subset of reviewers questioned the reliance on certain tropes, such as the redemption of a villain through the influence of children, suggesting that while effective, It adhered to a predictable formula. Others debated whether the film's emphasis on slapstick humor and visual exaggeration occasionally overshadowed subtler character moments or thematic exploration. Despite these critiques, most acknowledged that the film's inventive animation, engaging voice performances, and emotional resonance outweighed any perceived formulaic tendencies. The balance of humor, heart, and spectacle was consistently cited as the film's defining strength, demonstrating how narrative and visual creativity can coexist within a commercially appealing animated feature. Despicable Me also sparked discussion regarding representation and modern values. The portrayal of unconventional family structures, adoption, and emotional growth challenged traditional narratives in family entertainment, prompting conversation about how animated films can reflect diverse social experiences. While some critics praised the film for its inclusive approach to family and emotional themes, others observed that the focus remained primarily on comedic spectacle, leaving certain social dynamics underexplored. Nevertheless, the film's ability to introduce complex themes, such as transformation, empathy, and moral choice, into a format accessible to children and adults alike contributed to its recognition as a culturally significant work. The technical achievements of the film were frequently noted in reviews. Animation quality, design innovation, and visual storytelling were highlighted as particularly impressive, with critics praising the stylized character designs, expressive facial animation, and carefully crafted environments. The interplay of exaggerated motion, color palette, and lighting was recognized as enhancing both humor and emotion, creating a cohesive visual language that reinforced the narrative. Reviewers frequently compared the film favorably to other contemporary animated features, emphasizing how its unique aesthetic, inventive world-building, and attention to detail distinguished it within a competitive industry landscape. Audiences responded enthusiastically, as evidenced by word-of-mouth popularity and strong ratings in audience surveys. Children gravitated toward the colorful, dynamic visuals, engaging humor, and relatable emotional arcs, while parents appreciated the layered storytelling, moral lessons, and accessibility across age groups. Fan engagement extended beyond theaters, with online communities celebrating the film's characters, sharing creative interpretations, and discussing favorite moments. The Minions, in particular, became cultural icons, generating viral content, memes, and merchandise that further amplified audience connection. These interactions demonstrated how reception is not limited to critical reviews, but encompasses active participation and cultural conversation surrounding the film's content. In addition to audience approval, Despicable Me received recognition from industry organizations and award bodies, acknowledging both creative and technical accomplishments. Nominations and wins highlighted achievements in voice performance, animation, sound design, and overall production quality. The acclaim underscored the film's success in meeting both artistic and commercial objectives, validating the creative decisions of the directors, writers, animators, composers, and producers. It also positioned the film as a significant entry in the broader history of animated cinema, contributing to discussions of innovation and storytelling within the medium. Comparisons to other animated classics emerged as part of critical discourse. Reviewers frequently examined how Despicable Me combined traditional narrative elements, such as a hero's journey and redemption arc, with contemporary humor, stylized visual design, and technologically advanced animation. These comparisons highlighted the film's contributions to the evolution of animation, particularly in integrating multi-generational appeal, layered comedy, and emotionally complex characters. Discussions also emphasize how the film balanced universal themes with playful exaggeration, illustrating a trend toward more sophisticated storytelling in family animation that engages both young viewers and adults simultaneously. Despicable Me has grown far beyond its original film, developing into a franchise that spans multiple sequels, spin-offs, television adaptations, merchandise lines, theme park attractions, and other cultural touchpoints, securing its place as one of the most influential animated properties of the 21st century. The immediate success of the film laid the foundation for this expansion, demonstrating both the commercial viability and enduring audience appeal of the story, characters, and visual universe. The sequels, beginning with Despicable Me 2, continued to explore the growth of GRU as a character while introducing new comedic scenarios, villains, and narrative arcs that further enriched the franchise. These films maintained the balance of humor, heart, and imaginative invention that defined the original, while pushing technical and artistic boundaries with each installment, expanding the universe in both scope and depth. One of the most prominent expansions of the franchise is the spin-off series focused on the Minions, which capitalized on their immense popularity and iconic status. The Minions films explore their backstory, individual quirks, and adventurous escapades, effectively creating a parallel narrative universe while maintaining strong ties to the core story. The success of the Minions spin-offs demonstrates the flexibility and appeal of the franchise's characters, showing how secondary figures can be elevated to central roles in a way that resonates with audiences of all ages. The spin-offs also introduce new narrative possibilities, locations, and comedic dynamics, further broadening the franchise's cultural footprint while reinforcing the visual style and humor that fans associate with the brand. Television adaptations and short-form content have also contributed to the franchise's longevity. Animated shorts featuring the Minions, often released online or as supplemental material, expanded the characters' presence and allowed fans to engage with the world between major film releases. These adaptations maintain the same comedic style and visual design as the films, creating a sense of continuity while exploring scenarios that are simpler or more experimental than feature-length narratives. The television and digital content has helped maintain audience engagement over time, reinforcing character familiarity and sustaining interest in the larger cinematic universe. The franchise's impact extends strongly into merchandise and branding. Minions, GRU, and other characters appear on toys, clothing, home goods, school supplies, and collectibles, creating a pervasive presence in popular culture. These products have become highly desirable among children and collectors alike, demonstrating the franchise's ability to translate cinematic appeal into commercial success. Merchandising has also contributed to fan engagement, as children and families incorporate the characters into daily life, play, and imaginative activities. The visibility of franchise merchandise has helped maintain cultural relevance and broaden the audience beyond the film viewing experience, making the franchise a constant presence in the market and contributing to brand recognition on a global scale. Theme park adaptations further solidified the franchise's cultural significance. Immersive attractions, rides, and interactive experiences allow fans to engage physically with the world of Despicable Me, bringing characters, sets, and narrative scenarios into real-world spaces. These experiences are designed to replicate the humor, visual style, and narrative tension of the films, giving audiences a tangible connection to the franchise. By extending storytelling into theme parks, the franchise creates opportunities for engagement that go beyond passive viewing, allowing fans to interact with environments, props, and characters in ways that deepen emotional attachment and reinforce brand loyalty. The franchise has also been leveraged for stage adaptations and live entertainment. Theatrical performances, musical productions, and live shows often incorporate key narrative elements, songs, and character personalities, translating the visual and musical appeal of the films into new media formats. These adaptations maintain fidelity to the original material while introducing innovative staging, choreography, and performance techniques, demonstrating the versatility of the franchise's content. By reaching audiences through multiple forms of media, the franchise has extended its cultural impact and allowed fans to experience the story and characters in diverse ways. International expansion has been a key component of the franchise's success. The films and spin-offs have been localized for a wide range of markets, with dubbing, marketing, and merchandise tailored to cultural contexts around the world. The universal humor, visually driven storytelling, and emotionally resonant themes of the franchise enable to transcend linguistic and cultural barriers, resulting in strong global box office performance and cross-cultural appeal. The franchise has become an international phenomenon, with characters, catchphrases, and imagery recognizable across continents, contributing to a shared global cultural experience. The franchise has also encouraged innovation within animated cinema by demonstrating the potential for multi-platform storytelling. The combination of feature films, spin-offs, shorts, television adaptations, theme park experiences, and merchandise creates an integrated ecosystem in which each element reinforces the others. This strategy illustrates how animated properties can evolve into comprehensive entertainment brands, providing sustained engagement, commercial opportunity, and cultural impact over an extended period. It also sets a precedent for future franchises, showing that character-driven stories with broad appeal can thrive across diverse media and consumer touchpoints. Critical recognition and audience loyalty have ensured the franchise's continued relevance. Each sequel and spin-off builds on the established narrative, deepening character development while introducing new creative challenges. Audiences respond positively to the consistent humor, charm, and emotional depth, reinforcing the franchise's brand identity. Fan communities, online discussions, and social media engagement play a significant role in sustaining momentum as fans share content, create derivative works, and express ongoing attachment to characters and storylines. This active participation has helped maintain the cultural resonance of the franchise, ensuring that Despicable Me remains prominent in popular consciousness. Despicable Me resonates deeply with audiences across generations, creating emotional connections that extend far beyond the initial theatrical experience. The film's ability to engage both children and adults lies in its careful balance of humor, character development, emotional depth, and relatable themes. Children are drawn to the bright visuals, exaggerated comedic sequences, and playful antics of the minions, finding delight in the slapstick humor, vibrant color palette, and imaginative gadgetry of GRU's world. These elements capture attention and stimulate imagination, making the film highly entertaining for younger viewers, while subtly introducing moral lessons and emotional content that encourage empathy, understanding, and emotional awareness. The characters' struggles, triumph, and relationships become emotionally resonant for children, allowing them to internalize lessons about kindness, family, and personal growth in a natural, engaging manner. Adults, on the other hand, are able to appreciate the nuanced characterization, thematic layers, and intergenerational humor embedded within the film. The narrative explores concepts such as personal transformation, the redefinition of family, and moral growth, which resonate with adult experiences and values. The comedic timing, references to popular culture, and clever wordplay offer entertainment that is accessible to older viewers without alienating the younger audience. Adults can recognize the subtleties in GRU's emotional journey, the significance of his evolving relationship with the girls, and the social dynamics portrayed in the story. This multi-layered approach allows the film to function on multiple levels simultaneously, providing laughter, reflection, and emotional engagement for diverse age groups. The Minions, in particular, serve as a universal point of emotional and cultural connection. Their expressive physicality, vocalizations, and comedic timing transcend language and cultural barriers, allowing viewers from different backgrounds to engage with the humor and emotional cues intuitively. Children often empathize with the Minions' mischievousness and playful energy, while adults may appreciate the clever choreography, timing, and subtext embedded in their actions. The Minions' appeal extends to digital culture, memes, and social media, fostering participatory engagement where audiences share content, create derivative works, and express their affection for characters. This cultural ubiquity reinforces the emotional connection between the audience and the franchise, making the Minions emblematic of the film's broad appeal and lasting resonance. Audiences develop emotional attachment to the characters through repeated exposure to their growth, humor, and vulnerability. GRU's transformation from self-serving villain to caring parental figure is structured in a way that is gradual and believable, allowing viewers to witness his evolution in real time. Children respond to the warmth and affection he develops for the girls, often projecting their own experiences and desires for parental care onto the narrative. Adults recognize the moral and emotional complexity of this journey, appreciating how the film subverts traditional villain archetypes and explores the transformative power of love, responsibility, and personal choice. These layered interpretations contribute to intergenerational engagement, as different age groups extract meaning and emotional resonance from the same scenes, characters, and interactions. Fan engagement is a key indicator of the emotional and generational resonance of Despicable Me. Cosplay, fan art, online communities, and fan-created content illustrate the depth of attachment audiences feel toward the characters and narrative. Children often recreate scenes, mimic character behaviors, or role-play scenarios inspired by the film, demonstrating an early form of participatory engagement that reinforces storytelling and moral lessons. Adults participate in fan communities, share favorite moments, or engage with merchandise and digital media, reflecting an ongoing emotional investment. This multi-generational participation strengthens the cultural footprint of the film and contributes to the sustained popularity of the franchise over time. Music and sound also play a critical role in fostering emotional connection. Musical sequences provide both entertainment and emotional insight, allowing audiences to experience characters' feelings through melody, rhythm, and lyrical content. Children may respond to the fun, catchy aspects of songs, while adults perceive the thematic and emotional layers embedded in musical expression. The integration of music with narrative events, such as moments of triumph, emotional vulnerability, or comedic exaggeration, amplifies the emotional impact of scenes, making them more memorable and emotionally resonant. These audiovisual cues create shared experiences that strengthen the connection between characters and viewers, fostering long-lasting engagement and attachment. The universality of the film's themes also enhances its generational resonance. Concepts such as family, friendship, courage, identity, and personal growth are accessible to all age groups, allowing children to grasp fundamental moral lessons, while adults reflect on subtler nuances and real-world parallels. The interplay between humor and emotion ensures that lessons are delivered organically, making them both entertaining and impactful. Audiences can relate to the experiences portrayed, whether through the lens of a child navigating relationships and identity or an adult considering moral responsibility and personal transformation. This broad thematic accessibility is a key factor in the film's enduring emotional impact. Emotional resonance is further reinforced by the film's attention to character detail. Subtle expressions, gestures, and interactions communicate feelings in ways that transcend dialogue, allowing audiences to intuitively understand motivations, anxieties, and affection. For children, these cues model social and emotional recognition, supporting empathy and understanding. For adults, the nuanced animation conveys depth and authenticity in character relationships, enhancing engagement and investment in outcomes. The integration of visual storytelling, vocal performance, and musical cues ensures that emotional beats are clear, compelling, and universally comprehensible. Despicable Me features deeply considered character development and the reimagining of classic archetypes, which together create a story that is both accessible to children and emotionally engaging for adults. The central protagonist, GRU, begins as an archetypal villain, ambitious, self-centered, and seemingly incapable of empathy. However, the narrative carefully subverts this archetype by gradually revealing layers of vulnerability, humor, and potential for personal growth. His journey mirrors elements of the hero's journey, though inverted in compelling ways. Instead of setting out to defeat evil or save a kingdom, GRU initially seeks power and notoriety through villainy, only to discover that true fulfillment comes from connection, responsibility, and love. This subversion of the traditional hero archetype creates an engaging character arc, as audiences witness a villain who evolves into a caring father figure, challenging preconceived notions of morality and personal identity. GRU's internal conflict is central to the narrative, reflecting universal themes of self-discovery and the tension between desire and morality. Early in the film, his actions are motivated by ambition and ego, yet subtle cues in dialogue, expression, and body language hint at his latent capacity for emotional connection. The introduction of the three orphan girls catalyzes his transformation, forcing him to confront vulnerability, ethical choice, and empathy. The children serve as both narrative devices and archetypal figures. They embody innocence, curiosity, and moral clarity, acting as mirrors that reflect the protagonist's potential for growth. Through their interactions, GRU learns to navigate emotional complexity, ultimately redefining his identity and purpose. This dynamic illustrates the careful attention to character development, showing how relationships and circumstances can catalyze transformation in ways that are believable, engaging, and emotionally satisfying. Supporting characters further reinforce archetypal and thematic exploration. The minions, for example, serve as comic relief, loyal companions, and extensions of GRU's personality. While initially presented as chaotic, mischievous figures, their consistent loyalty and playful ingenuity provide narrative depth and emotional resonance. They embody archetypal traits of the trickster and faithful companion, blending humor with functional narrative support. The minions' exaggerated physicality, nonsensical language, and coordinated antics not only generate laughter, but also underscore key story beats, highlighting moments of success, failure, or transformation. They serve as both a mirror and a contrast to GRU, reinforcing his emotional journey while contributing to the narrative's rhythm and tone. The orphan girls, each with distinct personalities, function as catalysts for change and archetypal representations of innocence, resilience, and curiosity. Their individuality is conveyed through dialogue, behavior, and visual design, ensuring that each child is recognizable and emotionally compelling. They challenge GRU's villainous tendencies, provide opportunities for comedic interplay and embody moral clarity, demonstrating the influence of positive role models on personal transformation. These archetypal representations allow audiences, especially children, to relate to characters emotionally, understanding their motivations and rooting for their growth. The girl's impact on the narrative illustrates how archetypes can be modernized to convey universal truths while remaining entertaining and relatable. GRU's antagonists, though less central than the primary narrative, provide contrast and tension that enrich character development. Rival villains and adversarial figures highlight his moral and strategic choices, emphasize his evolution from self-serving schemer to protective parental figure. These external conflicts serve as narrative catalysts, enabling the audience to observe the protagonist's decision-making and growth. The contrast between GRU and other villains illuminates his emerging virtues, highlighting courage, empathy, and moral discernment as defining traits that distinguish him from archetypal villainy. This dynamic underscores the film's emphasis on the complexity of human behavior, showing that growth often involves negotiating internal desires, external pressures, and relational responsibilities. Humor plays a pivotal role in shaping and revealing character. Comedic timing, visual gags, and exaggerated reactions reveal personality traits while supporting narrative development. For instance, GRU's over-the-top villainous gestures communicate both menace and comedic absurdity, allowing audiences to laugh while simultaneously recognizing his potential for change. The minions' antics highlight loyalty, creativity, and playfulness, deepening their emotional resonance. Comedic sequences also allow for subtle shifts in character perception, enabling the audience to witness vulnerability, ethical consideration, or relational growth within moments of levity. This integration of humor and character development exemplifies how animated storytelling can convey complexity while remaining accessible to multiple age groups. Emotional growth is further reinforced through repeated motifs and visual cues. Changes in posture, facial expression, and interactions with the environment signal shifts in motivation, intention, and emotional state. For example, the softening of GRU's physical demeanor during tender interactions with the girls communicates transformation without requiring explicit verbal exposition. Similarly, the minions' responses to both success and failure provide insight into group dynamics, loyalty, and emotional intelligence, enriching the narrative and reinforcing archetypal traits. These visual storytelling techniques ensure that character development is both observable and emotionally resonant, allowing audiences to track growth intuitively. The film also explores relational dynamics as a component of character development. GRU's evolving bond with the girls demonstrates the interplay between personal transformation and relational influence. Initial tension and misunderstanding give way to trust, affection, and mutual respect, illustrating how characters can shape one another's emotional trajectories. This relational growth is mirrored in comedic and narrative sequences, where shared experiences, challenges, and adventure strengthen bonds while reinforcing moral lessons. The minions participate in these dynamics, amplifying both conflict and resolution, creating layered interactions that combine humor, emotional depth, and narrative progression. Despicable Me demonstrates meticulous attention to costume, character design, and world building, creating a visually coherent universe that reinforces personality, narrative, and thematic content. Every character's appearance is deliberately crafted to convey traits, background, and role within the story, while environments are designed to immerse audiences in a world that balances whimsy, comedy, and emotional resonance. The design philosophy emphasizes clarity of character, exaggeration for comedic effect, and functional integration with animation, ensuring that visual elements not only entertain, but also enhance storytelling and audience understanding. GRU's costume and physical design are central to communicating his personality and narrative trajectory. His signature black coat, gray scarf, and striped patterning convey a combination of sophistication, menace, and theatricality, reinforcing his role as a villain while allowing flexibility for visual humor. The elongated silhouette, narrow shoulders, and sharp angles in his design create a striking contrast with the rounded, softer shapes of the orphan girls, emphasizing his initial detachment and outsider status. Subtle adjustments to posture, coat movement, and accessory interaction throughout the film visually reflect his evolving personality, such as softening stances or more relaxed gestures when interacting with the children. These design choices support character recognition, emotional storytelling, and comedic timing, allowing audiences to intuitively grasp aspects of his identity without reliance on dialogue. The orphan girl's costumes and design communicate individuality, innocence, and personality. Each girl is dressed in a distinct palette and style, reflecting her traits and emotional tendencies. For example, Agnes's clothing emphasizes playful innocence and youthful exuberance, while Margot's more practical attire reflects responsibility and curiosity. These costume choices complement facial design, body language, and gesture to convey characterization visually, enhancing audience understanding of relationships and personality dynamics. The use of vibrant, soft colors in their wardrobes contrasts with the darker, more muted tones of JRU's initial presentation, visually signaling shifts in narrative focus, emotional tone, and relational warmth. The Minions' design is iconic and carefully considered, balancing simplicity, exaggeration, and functional animation. Their cylindrical bodies, large goggles, and uniform yellow coloring create immediate recognition and visual cohesion, while allowing for extreme flexibility in expression and movement. Costumes and props, such as overalls or tiny accessories, enhance comedic potential and support differentiation among individual minions. Despite their collective identity, design consistency ensures that minions are immediately legible to the audience, while providing animators with the freedom to exaggerate motion, facial expression, and physical comedy in ways that reinforce humor and narrative function. The visual identity of the Minions contributes significantly to the franchise's branding, cultural recognition, and audience attachment. World building in Despicable Me extends beyond character design to encompass architectural, environmental, and object design, creating a coherent and immersive setting. JRU's lair, characterized by angular, modernist architecture, oversized machinery, and complex gadgets, communicates ambition, control, and the fantastical nature of his villainous plans. Environments are densely detailed, with mechanical textures, lighting, and interactive elements that complement character action. These spaces allow animators to design dynamic sequences involving chase, slapstick, and gadgetry, while also reinforcing thematic contrast between order, chaos, and eventual relational warmth. The lair is both functional for storytelling and expressive of character, demonstrating the integration of world building with narrative and comedic intent. The domestic and urban environments inhabited by the orphan girls and other supporting characters are carefully designed to feel grounded, welcoming, and emotionally resonant. Rounded shapes, warm textures, and soft lighting create a sense of safety, comfort, and relational intimacy, visually contrasting with the harsh angles and mechanical precision of villainous spaces. Color palettes, prop selection, and architectural details reinforce mood and thematic content, subtly guiding audience perception and emotional response. These environmental design choices also provide narrative cues, indicating scene tone, relational dynamics, and character focus without relying solely on dialogue or exposition. Viewers intuitively interpret spatial relationships, light, and texture as reflections of narrative and character psychology, enhancing immersion and storytelling clarity. The integration of costume and environmental design supports humor, action, and narrative rhythm. Exaggerated proportions, bold textures, and interactive clothing elements allow for physical comedy and expressive motion. For example, the movement of JRU's coat during physical gags or the elasticity of minion accessories reinforces visual humor while maintaining character integrity. Similarly, objects in the environment, such as oversized machines, playful furniture, or whimsical gadgets, are designed to interact seamlessly with character motion, creating a visually engaging choreography of action and comedy. These design strategies ensure that costume, prop, and environmental choices serve both narrative function and aesthetic pleasure, unifying story, character, and humor in a coherent visual language. Visual symbolism in costume and design reinforces narrative themes. Sharp angles and muted palettes in villainous spaces and characters underscore attachment, ambition, and emotional rigidity, while softer lines, brighter colors, and rounded shapes signal warmth, growth, and relational connection. These symbolic cues guide audience interpretation, highlighting emotional arcs and character transformation. Designers also use recurring motifs, such as stripes in JRU's scarf or yellow tone for minions, to create visual consistency and narrative continuity, allowing audiences to track character identity and thematic development through visual recognition alone. Technology and stylistic choices were pivotal in achieving these effects. Advanced rigging systems, claw simulations, and lighting tools allowed costumes to move realistically with exaggerated character designs, maintaining believability within a stylized world. Environmental textures, object physics, and interactive lighting enhance immersion, while supporting expressive animation, allowing comedic and emotional moments to be heightened without losing visual coherence. The combination of technical precision and creative design ensured that characters and worlds were visually expressive, narratively functional, and consistently engaging. Despicable Me demonstrates a masterful use of dialogue, humor, and screenplay structure, blending comedic timing, emotional resonance, and narrative clarity in a way that appeals to both children and adults. The writing team crafted dialogue that is accessible yet layered, balancing straightforward comedic lines with subtler, character-driven humor. Conversations between characters often serve multiple functions, revealing personality, advancing plot, reinforcing relationships, and delivering humor. For example, GRU's early lines communicated self-centered villainy while providing witty, ironic humor that adults can appreciate, and simultaneously introducing his character in a manner that is easily understandable for younger viewers. This careful calibration of dialogue ensures that humor is multi-layered, serving both entertainment and narrative purposes without alienating any segment of the audience. Recurrent catchphrases and verbal quirks contribute significantly to character identity and audience engagement. GRU's signature expressions, combined with the Minions' unique gibberish, create memorable linguistic markers that are instantly recognizable and culturally resonant. The Minions' language functions as a blend of nonsensical vocalization, musicality, and physical expression, allowing humor to transcend linguistic barriers. Audiences of all ages respond to the rhythm, intonation, and timing of these vocalizations, which are often paired with exaggerated gestures or slapstick action. The result is a comedic vocabulary that is both unique and universally accessible, providing recurring moments of levity and reinforcing character relationships through sound and timing. Humor in the screenplay operates on multiple levels, integrating visual, verbal, and situational comedy. Physical humor, such as the Minions' clumsy antics, laboratory mishaps, or exaggerated gestures, interacts seamlessly with dialogue to amplify comedic effect. Visual gags, carefully timed with music or sound cues, enhance the narrative without disrupting emotional or thematic beats. Situational comedy arises from the tension between character goals, misunderstandings, and unexpected outcomes, creating dynamic and engaging storylines. These layers of humor allow children to enjoy obvious visual comedy, while adults can appreciate subtler references, wordplay, and irony, demonstrating the film's multi-generational appeal and narrative sophistication. Screenplay structure in Despicable Me is tightly organized to balance exposition, character development, and comedic pacing. The film establishes character, setting, and conflict early, using dialogue, visual cues, and humorous sequences to communicate essential information efficiently. Exposition is often embedded in action or comedic moments rather than relying on lengthy dialogue, allowing narrative clarity without slowing pacing. For instance, GRU's villainous plans are introduced through interactions with minions and invented gadgets, providing context, humor, and character insight simultaneously. This approach ensures that audiences remain engaged, understanding the story stakes while enjoying comedic and visual spectacle. Musical sequences are seamlessly integrated into the screenplay structure, functioning as narrative tools as well as entertainment. Songs reinforce character motivation, emotional state, or thematic elements, creating moments of reflection, revelation, or heightened humor. For example, sequences in which minions perform musical antics are carefully timed with dialogue and action, blending narrative purpose with comedic and auditory engagement. This integration of music, dialogue, and humor demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of how screenplay structure can support multiple storytelling layers simultaneously, enhancing character, plot, and emotional resonance. Dialogue also functions to reveal relational dynamics and character growth. Interactions between GRU and the girls, for instance, evolve over the course of the narrative, reflecting shifting emotional stakes, trust, and moral development. The writing employs subtle variations in tone, phrasing, and timing to indicate these changes, allowing audiences to perceive growth without explicit exposition. Humorous misunderstandings or playful teasing often precede emotional revelations, using comedy to create narrative tension and ultimately underscore character development. This layered approach reinforces engagement, making emotional arcs more compelling through a combination of verbal and nonverbal cues. Timing and pacing are central to the effectiveness of both humor and narrative. Comedic beats are carefully spaced within the screenplay to maximize impact, using pauses, interruptions, and reaction shots to enhance both verbal and physical humor. Dialogue often overlaps with visual gags or musical cues, creating a rhythm that maintains energy while ensuring comprehension. Sequences are choreographed to allow moments of tension, surprise, and release, providing a balanced narrative flow that sustains audience attention. This meticulous attention to timing demonstrates the film's understanding of comedic and narrative mechanics, ensuring that every line, pause, and visual moment contributes to the overall storytelling effect. Repetition and callback humor are also important structural devices. Recurring jokes, character behaviors, or verbal quirks create continuity and reward attentive audiences. For example, minion behaviors, specific reactions from GRU, or repeated visual gags are revisited in ways that enhance humor while reinforcing narrative cohesion. These techniques contribute to audience anticipation, engagement, and emotional satisfaction, creating a sense of shared understanding and continuity across the film. Callbacks are often combined with musical or visual cues, further integrating dialogue and humor into the screenplay structure. Emotional dialogue is interwoven with comedic elements, ensuring that humor never undermines narrative stakes or character development. Heartfelt moments, such as the girl's interactions with GRU, use dialogue to express vulnerability, love, or trust, which are often juxtaposed against comedic sequences to enhance impact. This interplay of humor and emotion allows audiences to experience laughter and empathy simultaneously, reinforcing narrative investment and ensuring that emotional arcs are both compelling and memorable. The balance of levity and seriousness contributes to the film's multi-generational appeal and reinforces the importance of narrative rhythm in animated storytelling. Despicable Me's marketing and branding strategy was a critical factor in its global success, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of audience engagement, cross-media promotion, and franchise building. From the earliest stages of release, the film was positioned to appeal to both children and adults, using a combination of trailers, teaser songs, merchandise partnerships, and digital content to create awareness and anticipation. Trailers highlighted the humor, inventive visuals, and memorable characters, particularly focusing on GRU and the Minions, whose comedic appeal and distinctive design served as immediate points of recognition. Teaser campaigns often incorporated musical cues and visual motifs from the film, creating memorable audio-visual hooks that were effective across television, cinema previews, and online platforms. The balance of humor, action, and emotion in promotional content ensured that audiences understood both the entertainment value and the emotional resonance of the story. Merchandise was central to the branding strategy, leveraging the popularity of the Minions, GRU, and other characters to create a wide range of consumer products. Toys, action figures, clothing, home goods, and school supplies became instantly recognizable, extending the film's presence beyond theaters. Merchandising campaigns were carefully coordinated with film release dates, holidays, and other retail opportunities, maximizing visibility and cultural penetration. The Minions, in particular, became cultural icons, with their design, catchphrases, and behavior translated into collectible figures, plush toys, and interactive playsets. This commercialization not only generated revenue, but reinforced character recognition and engagement, embedding the film into daily life and popular culture for both children and adult collectors. Cross-promotional partnerships expanded the reach of the film and reinforced brand recognition. Collaborations with fast food chains, such as promotional toys and kids' meals, brought the characters directly into everyday consumer experiences, creating additional touchpoints for audience engagement. Partnerships with entertainment outlets, online platforms, and media networks extended the visibility of the film, providing trailers, clips, games, and interactive content that encouraged repeated exposure. Social media campaigns, viral videos, and online fan engagement allowed audiences to participate actively in promotion, sharing content, creating memes, and building community around characters and comedic sequences. This approach capitalized on participatory culture of digital audiences, fostering emotional attachment while amplifying visibility across demographics. The soundtrack played an essential role in marketing and branding, as original songs and musical numbers were used in trailers, commercials, and digital promotion to create recognizable audio hooks. Memorable songs associated with the minions or character sequences were adapted for television spots, online clips, and viral content, ensuring that music reinforced character identity and narrative themes. This integration of audio branding supported multi-sensory recognition, making the film's humor, personality, and emotional content accessible even outside the context of full viewing. Musical marketing also tapped into the film's cross-generational appeal, as catchy, rhythmically engaging tunes attracted children, while offering subtle references and thematic reinforcement for adult audiences. International marketing and localization were critical to the film's global reach. Promotional materials, trailers, and merchandise were adapted to cultural contexts, language, and regional preferences, ensuring accessibility and relevance in diverse markets. Dubbing of dialogue and songs, visual modifications, and culturally sensitive messaging allowed the film to engage audiences worldwide while preserving humor, character identity, and thematic resonance. This strategic localization contributed to strong box office performance in multiple regions, extending the film's popularity beyond its domestic market and solidifying its presence as a global animated phenomenon. Digital engagement further amplified marketing reach, with interactive games, apps, and online experiences allowing fans to explore characters, scenarios, and humor in a participatory way. Social media campaigns encourage fan-generated content, memes, and discussion, creating ongoing visibility and engagement that extended beyond the theatrical release window. These initiatives reinforce emotional connection, strengthen brand loyalty, and encourage repeat viewership, while also promoting sequels and merchandise. The integration of digital marketing reflects a modern approach to audience cultivation, combining traditional advertising with interactive, community-driven engagement. Film-themed events, premieres, and experiential marketing also contributed to visibility and brand recognition. Red carpet events, character meet and greets, and public installations showcase key elements of the film's visual identity, particularly iconic characters and design elements, creating memorable interactions for fans. These experiences fostered excitement, anticipation, and emotional connection, while generating media coverage and social sharing that further amplified awareness. By creating multi-sensory, participatory events, the marketing team ensured that the film's presence extended beyond screens and into tangible experiences, reinforcing narrative and character attachment. The coordinated timing of marketing efforts reinforced the release strategy, with trailer drops, merchandise launches, soundtrack releases, and media appearances strategically scheduled to maintain momentum and build anticipation. This comprehensive approach ensured that the audience encountered consistent messaging across multiple channels, reinforcing character recognition, thematic understanding, and brand identity. The alignment of humor, music, visual style, and character-focused promotion created a cohesive brand experience that strengthened audience attachment and cultural penetration. Overall, Despicable Me's marketing, branding, and global reach reflect a multifaceted strategy that maximizes visibility, audience engagement, and cross-generational appeal. The integration of trailers, merchandise, musical hooks, digital content, experiential events, and international localization ensure that the film achieved cultural relevance and commercial success worldwide. By creating consistent, participatory, and immersive promotional experiences, the film reinforced its characters, humor, and narrative themes, solidifying its position as a global cultural phenomenon. This strategic approach not only contributed to the initial success of the film, but laid the foundation for a lasting franchise, ensuring that Despicable Me remains recognizable, beloved, and influential across generations and around the world. Despicable Me occupies a distinctive place within animated cinema, both as a standalone film and as a foundation for a franchise, offering a lens through which to analyze evolving trends in storytelling, visual style, character development, and audience engagement. When compared to earlier animated classics, such as the works of Disney or DreamWorks, Despicable Me demonstrates a shift towards stylized character design, multi-layered humor, and the subversion of traditional archetypes. Whereas classic animation often focused on fairy tale narratives with clearly defined heroes and villains, Despicable Me introduces moral complexity, depicting a protagonist who begins as a villain and undergoes transformation through relational influence and personal growth. This inversion of traditional storytelling archetypes represents a broader trend in contemporary animation, wherein character development and narrative nuance are given as much emphasis as visual spectacle. In terms of animation style, Despicable Me diverges from highly detailed, realistic aesthetics of some earlier computer-generated films, opting instead for a more exaggerated, stylized approach. Characters feature elongated or compact proportions, expressive facial exaggerations, and distinctive silhouettes that prioritize readability, comedic potential, and emotional expression over anatomical realism. Environments similarly balance abstraction with immersive design, creating spaces that are visually striking while supporting comedic timing, narrative clarity, and thematic expression. This approach contrasts with more realistic or painterly animation styles, emphasizing the flexibility of visual exaggeration in reinforcing character and story, and influencing subsequent animated features that seek to combine humor with distinctive aesthetic identity. The film's humor and dialogue represent another point of comparison within animated cinema. Unlike earlier films that often relied on slapstick visual gags or moralistic humor exclusively, Despicable Me layers multiple comedic modes simultaneously. Slapstick is integrated with witty verbal exchanges, cultural references, meta-humor, and musical interludes, creating multi-generational appeal. Humor serves both as entertainment and as a tool for character development, a strategy that differentiates the film from predecessors, where comedies sometimes functioned independently of narrative. This layering has influenced subsequent animated works, demonstrating the effectiveness of balancing physical comedy with verbal wit and emotional resonance to engage audiences across age groups. Musical integration in Despicable Me also reflects a contemporary approach that diverges from traditional musical animation. Songs and musical cues are carefully aligned with character development and narrative moments, functioning as both entertainment and storytelling tools. Musical sequences are not merely interludes. They advance plot, reinforce emotional arcs, and emphasize thematic content. This differs from older animated musicals, in which songs often serve primarily to showcase spectacle or musicality. In Despicable Me, musical integration is narrative-driven, supporting emotional resonance and character expression while contributing to comedic timing, thereby demonstrating the evolving role of music in animated storytelling. Character archetypes in Despicable Me are deliberately subverted and modernized. The villain protagonist challenges expectations by evolving into a parental figure, while side characters, including the minions, serve as both comic relief and narrative agents. This approach contrasts with classical archetypes in animation, where villains were often irredeemably evil, and side characters primarily provided humor without narrative consequence. Despicable Me demonstrates that complex characters with shifting motivations, nuanced relationships, and multidimensional personalities can drive both humor and emotion. This complexity has influenced subsequent animated films seeking to balance entertainment with character depth, emphasizing the audience's capacity to engage with morally ambiguous or evolving protagonists. The film's narrative structure also reflects contemporary sensibilities, blending fast-paced comedic sequences with moments of emotional reflection. Plot pacing integrates action, humor, and relational development, ensuring sustained engagement for audiences with varying attention spans. Scenes often alternate between high-energy comedic beats and quieter, introspective moments, mirroring trends in modern animation that prioritize dynamic rhythm and emotional resonance. This structural approach differs from earlier linear or purely spectacle-driven narratives, highlighting the importance of balancing entertainment with emotional and thematic depth in animated storytelling. Despicable Me's visual and auditory branding is another area of comparative distinction. The minions, in particular, demonstrate how characters can become culturally iconic through a combination of distinctive design, vocalization, and personality traits. This branding transcends the film itself, influencing merchandise, viral content, and global media recognition. When compared with earlier animated icons, the Minions' appeal demonstrates a shift toward cross-platform, participatory audience engagement, where characters function as cultural touchstones as well as narrative agents. This model has been emulated in subsequent franchises, reflecting evolving strategies for audience engagement and cultural longevity. Technologically, Despicable Me contributes to the evolution of computer-generated animation through advances in rigging, cloth simulation, facial expression articulation, and environmental rendering. These innovations enable more expressive characters, fluid comedic motion, and immersive world building while maintaining stylization appropriate to the narrative and visual identity. Compared with earlier CGI films, the technology in Despicable Me prioritizes expressive exaggeration and comedic timing over hyperrealism, demonstrating how technical advancement can support aesthetic and narrative goals simultaneously. This approach has influenced the development of subsequent animated features, highlighting the potential for technology to enhance storytelling flexibility and visual distinctiveness. The film's thematic approach, blending moral growth, family formation, identity exploration, and humor, sets it apart from both classical fairy tales and many contemporary animated comedies. Themes are presented accessibly for children, yet nuanced enough for adult interpretation, reflecting an ongoing trend in animation to create content with multi-layered appeal. The juxtaposition of comedic exaggeration with genuine emotional arcs allows for engagement across demographics, reinforcing the importance of integrating humor, visual storytelling, and thematic depth. In comparison, earlier animated films often prioritize one dominant mode, either moral instruction, spectacle, or humor, with less integration of multiple audience layers.